right now we're doing the best of movies of 2022. How it gets. So I don't do a top 10 list. I just kind of put all the stuff that's best of. How it's listed as best of is I rate it on Letterbox, and anything that is 4 stars and up is put into best of, and then anything 1.5 star and below gets put in the worst. So anything that's kind of like 2 to 3.5 stars, it's mid. So it's kind of like, yeah, kind of decide if you want to watch it. My letterbox is constantly being updated because I watch so many goddamn movies. So I have 6 categories and then like an honorary thing that I think I gave like 3.5 stars to, but I kind of want to obviously, honorary and mention that it's like, ooh, you might want to watch this. Anyway, so first category is animated. We have Turning Red, Wendell and Wild, Pinocchio, and Mad God. Now, obviously we went to that premiere, not premiere, I keep saying premiere, screening. I'm making myself sound fancier than I am. We went to that screening of Wendell and Wild, so obviously I know we watched that together. Did you see Turning Red, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, or Mad God?
Yeah, honestly, I've been really off when it comes to animations this year. I have not seen those yet. Pinocchio is the one I am the most excited for. Turning Red looks really cute, but I feel like Guillermo del Toro is much better at uh, pulling at my heartstrings and making me really excited to look at something very, very sad.
So yeah, Turning Red, I really liked it because it's Pixar, it's Disney, and it's coming of age, but there's like the whole like, hey, uh, generational trauma with like Asian families, so between like the mother and daughter kind of thing, but not as serious to make you cry. It's kind of like, it's cute, the whole like puberty being seen as turning into like a red panda kind of stuff. What's her face? Oh my god, I forgot her name. It's no, wrong. What's her name? Sandra Oh. I was like almost wrong name. Sandra Oh is like the voice of the mom and all that stuff. Um, and it's really adorable because again, this teenage girl, she loves a boy band, all that stuff. It's very adorable. I really enjoyed it. Again, it kind of it softens the blow. Because it's like generational trauma. We're gonna change it, but in a very like fun Pixar way, but not in the first 10 minutes of Up Pixar way. Because we,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Thanks, Pixar. Wendell and Wild, again, we went to go see that together. Obviously, we both enjoyed it while we were at the screening when, like, I said this in my review where, like, I remember thinking, oh, I thought this was all girls' school. Why is there a boy there? And then when the popular girl, like, dead named the kid, and you and I turned to each other and went, you know? like, and
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, it's not a nice way, but I feel like that's like a smarter way to kind of like let the audience know that there's a trans character there. Obviously, dead naming's never good, but I feel like it's better than like other movies where they try to do the thing of like, we've got a trans, check it off the list, that kind of stuff. Where like
Hmm.
it's like they come walking in and they're kind of funny looking for some reason, animated or live action, either way, and then they'll just say it. They'll just be like, well, as a trans dude, or like, well, as a trans woman. It's like, whoa, whoa, okay, huh, huh, nope.
They're also far more stylish and very loud. Like they might as well just be wrapped in the flag, but it's somehow the wrong flag because
Oh yeah,
someone's got them. Yeah, someone's just wearing the bear flag, and you're like, that's not the right flag.
it's like, oh my, that's. I don't need to. This is a kids movie. like I remember telling people that I went to the screening for that, and I said, no, it's really good, and they're like, okay, was it like. Was it fun because it's animated? And I said, yes, but since it is Jordan Peele related, I was not expecting the school to prison pipeline thing that happened. And people were like, what? And I was like, oh, yeah, it went in on that, but without being kind of like, get it, like it was a good balance of that without being like, get it, like, yeah.
Enjoy that Jordan Peele because I saw Nope as well.
Oh God,
Um,
yeah.
very like visually stunning. I enjoy that he's just going like, what do I just want to do?
Yeah.
Just want to do. And he's like, cowboy aliens and, angry girl, like goth punk fights demons. Like that's kind of, he's just
Like, all
pulling
right.
words out of a hat, and he's just like, that sounds great. And then
And
not
he's
saying that he's actually doing that, but he seems to
right.
be just enjoying
Right,
life.
but it's working. It's not like a Family Guy Linerama thing. It's like, wow, Lois, remember that time? You know, it's like, yeah, like I said, Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. It's beautiful, of course, because it's animated, it's stop motion, so of course it's good. Again, it's even though it's animated and not live action, there's so much Guillermo del Toro in it. Like his lovely chubby fingers have touched it, you know, and it's like yes, because it's like it's beautiful. How death is represented. That's the thing that I like. I always share and say it's me. You know, I want to make that a
I figured it was death. If you're saying it's you,
yeah. It's like I want to make that costume one day because it's like, oh, more big wings and all that stuff, and I'm like, yes. I was like, one day I'll wake up and be her, you know.
anytime Guillermo del Toro has a character with large wings, it's you.
I mean, I mean, at one point it is me, you know. You pack it in a box and then you confuse TSA, you know. Like, yes, it's the Pinocchio story and all that shit, but what I love is that it's set during what's his fucking name? Mussolini's fascist reign, because we all know Guillermo hates fascists. This is like the third movie where he's like, BT dubs. Anyway, we got this cute story, but BT dubs, fuck fascists, you know? Like, and I'm like, yes, Totoro-san, I love you. You know that. I don't like, yeah, like I don't have any issues. Proceed, you know? Yeah, so the next one is Mad God. That's the one I think I texted you about, where it's also stop motion, but it took like 30 years to make because the dude like made it like in between other projects and stuff like that. And there's like some elements of kind of like I think some live action stuff, and it's weird. I don't know how to describe it because I saw it on Shudder, which is the horror streaming service, and it just I again I don't know how to explain it. I gave it 4 stars. I was just like, yeah, yeah. You know, when you see some stuff, you're just like, I don't know if it's making sense to me or I want it. You know, I'm just like, fuck yeah. And then learning that, yeah, it took like 30 years for him to make, and then like there's a shit ton of animators because it's like it's him being like the main dude, and then it's like all these other animators who've done all these movies with him for the past 30 years, like on their day off, they're like, oh yeah, I'll just do like 3 minutes of this for you. You know what I mean? So the credits, it's like of animators, which I'm not mad about because animators, you know, everyone needs work, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the next category is I think I called it like redo slash sequel kind of thing. I have The Batman, Prey, and Glass Onion. Did you watch any of those?
The Batman and Glass Onion.
Mm.
I feel great. Usually when we do these, I'm like, nope, and then I just nod.
Well, this is also the good movie one, so wait till we get to the bad movie one. Well, then again, usually if it's a bad movie one, you're like, I'm glad I haven't seen any of these.
That or it's like it's one that maybe you've not forced me to see, but I feel like you use so many words to paint a picture of a horrible landscape.
You're like, well, I
Yeah.
have to, you know, yeah. Yeah, so the Batman, yeah. Like, so the Batman, I really liked it because I liked the young Bruce Wayne, you know, like they're not fully going with the year one comic thing, but in that sense of like early days of Batman. So of course he's gonna fuck up, you know. A lot of people, of course, they like shit on him, like fucking up the Spanish thing. But I'm like, I knew that was gonna happen because even I'm like, all right, this is basic, you know, Spanish 101. But also like, yeah, he's a rich white guy. He's not gonna like want to use Google Translate and all that stuff. And then your butler's British as fuck. You think he wants to use it? Like, no. Like they're just like, I got it. You know? I'm like, all right, cool, you got it. There was like, was it some movie theaters had signs saying like, yes, the movie is this dark, but I feel like because I saw it in the theater, it worked because you're in this super dark room and how it's dark and da da da. But you could still see in the dark. It wasn't like Snyder cut, not like that one episode of Game of Thrones where you had no idea what's happening in the battle. Like, yes, it was dark, but you could still see. And also, when they did use the dark, there was a reason to use the dark. You know, like the opening scene where he's monologuing, and they would show like a dark tunnel or a dark street. You know, like, yes, there's a reason for that. You know,
Yeah. We
whereas
watched a Batman movie at any time.
yeah,
We know why. Yes.
well, yeah, like anytime Gotham is portrayed, it's like Gotham somehow seems to be perpetually at night, or it's like freaking London where it's like perpetually overcast, you know what I mean? And then you hop skip over on a train to Metropolis and it's like fucking Vegas, you know what I mean? You're like, ah! You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, it's also called like, it's a comic book movie, as much as obviously Christopher Nolan and this guy, Matt Reeves, you know, made it a little bit more like realistic and da da da. I mean, again, Batman's really the only comic book character that you can make realistic and not it be on the goofy side. You know what I mean? Because again, he's just a rich dude with like, why was I gonna say treats? A long day at work. A rich dude with
Privilege?
yeah. I was gonna say gadgets, but yes, I mean that's. You're not wrong.
See all the TV remotes he has and a fidget spinner.
I mean, yes, we're both not wrong.
I thought that it, like, for pretty much everything you're saying too, I liked Robert Pattinson's like young Batman who's just kind of an idiot who does keep fucking up. Like you
Right.
think he's going to land smoothly on the truck. He does not.
Oh my
and
God.
he ate shit for a few seconds,
Yes.
which was great. And
Right.
I could see myself one breaking my legs very quickly.
Right.
And two, also not winning at all. Like I would not get as far. And
Right.
I am hopefully smarter than that, but I don't know if I am. It's Batman. But sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
Yeah. So Prey, that's the kind of prequel reboot redone of Predator. Holy shit. Like the Predator movies, it's like the first one's great because okay, it's called Predator. You think it's just like a, you know, guns a blazing movie, and then suddenly like this invisible thing comes out and Schwarzenegger's like, ah, you know, all that stuff. And it's crazy. It's got the Schwarzenegger one-liners, but it's got the very interesting sci-fi element to it. You know, kind of like how, you know, obviously this get compared a lot, but like with Alien, you just think it's a like a sci-fi movie, but then it turns out to be like sci-fi horror, and you're like, holy shit, you know? Like I love that's the thing I love about old movies is that like they sell you it as like the one genre, and then the other genre gets thrown in, and you're like, what is this? I don't know, you know? But like the first movie is great. The second one was great because it's like it's instead of being in like a jungle or something, it's you know Danny Glover. They're in the city. You know, like you get some kind of like thoughts of like oh like these are the, you know like okay and then we don't talk about the other ones, you know, we don't do Alien versus Predator, Alien versus Predator 2, we don't do what's it called like Predator, and then there was Predators and whatever all that stuff they were trying to redo the franchise. Fuck that shit, that we don't talk about those, you know.
Predatory.
It's a lending office.
Oh, that would be hilarious though. It's just all of the predators, but they're just like like various loan officers or bankers, and I don't know why they'd be walking like this, but that's how they come in, just in suits that are just way too tight, just
Right.
coming in to sit down with people to sell them credit cards.
Yes. Oh my god. Yes. Exactly. Yes. But yeah, I really liked it because like I said, it's a prequel because it happens like it's in Canada, back in was like the 1800s, something like that. Yeah, and and I loved it. I didn't get to watch it in the other version, which was the entire movie. It was all in the indigenous language. So you know how like yeah, so I watched it in like where there's English, and every so often they'll throw the indigenous language. But there's one version where it's literally all their dialogue is in the indigenous language, which I think is like awesome to do that. And of course, you know, they hired actual indigenous actors because that's, you know, how you actually do it. Um, and
I didn't have Mickey Rooney just in there just for fun. I'm Sorry, I ruined your concentration.
No. It's just when you said that, I immediately saw his face in Breakfast at Tiffany's, and it's just like, oh, like, just, and that's how I was like, well, um, yeah, Hollywood, yeah, but yeah, I really liked it because, like, it showed just like how smart the indigenous people were to like figure out how to fight the predator. Also, it's like a younger predator creature dealy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's young,
Trying to
because
prove
it's
itself.
right, because it's like this was its first time on Earth. Like it was also trying to figure out like what all this fangled diddly bop is because
It's the Robert Patterson of the world. Yeah, I
yes,
can.
exactly. Yeah, like it's really cool and everything. There's some French people who are very French in it, but then they got their comeuppance because they're French and they should. Well, remember it's Canada, so this is
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, the last one in that category is Glass Onion. And like I rated it the same as Knives Out, even though technically it wasn't as good as a movie as Knives Out, because Knives Out was a little bit more like the who done it, and then when you figure out, you're like, oh, there's like a couple of twists, and you're like, oh shit. This one is like you kind of knew what the answer was, but like you're just enjoying watching, like Daniel Craig be a little gay detective. Like
Yeah.
I enjoyed it because of that, and that's why like there are so many people who are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you like Glass Onion. I thought you liked movies. You would, like that kind of stuff." And I was like, "No, I got to see Daniel Craig play a little gay man detective. Like, yes, he like I remember that one year where I watched all the Bond movies and stuff like that, and like he's a great Bond, but like I like him more as a little gay detective. Not because he's gay, but also his Foghorn Leghorn accent is hilarious. Like I
It is.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
I also liked, although I agree with you that Knives Out was a better movie overall when it came to the full storytelling. I do like that
Uh huh.
even the writers of Glass Onion were just like, what if the main villain is obviously just the villain? What if he's just an idiot? What if he's one of those idiots that everyone is like? They did a really good job of commenting on the rich, brilliant idiot.
Yeah.
Like they did that perfectly of just like everyone saying, "Oh my god, he's so smart. He pays so many people to come up with brilliant things."
Right. Right.
In that way I really appreciated it, and it was like the colors and everything. It's still a good fun movie. But
Right.
yes, it like Foghorn Leghorn made it very also just I loved him just saying like, "And you're just stupid. You're just so fucking stupid." Like that was my favorite
Oh my
part.
god. Yeah, he was like, it's just so dumb. And then what's her name was like, it's so dumb, it's smart. And he's like, nah, it's just dumb. It's like, exactly. And I also love that, like, the movie start, like, in the beginning of the movie, he says to Edward Norton, like, he's like, oh, that puzzle, it was stupid. And, just like shitting on his puzzle. And then towards the end of the movie, you find out that he didn't actually get the puzzle box. It was Janelle Monáe came in with the where she was smart. She didn't even want to like. All the other people are like, "Oh my god, guys, we're solving it together!" Because they're all the rich people. She saw it. She's like, "Hammer, bah, 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 bah," you know. And so and it was great because you find out that okay, he didn't get a box, and there's that whole scheme of how they're gonna do their thing, which was totally fine. Um, but the fact that like he's a smart enough detective to know. Well, it's also not surprised because rich guys are always like this. To like hurt his ego by saying his like puzzle box was stupid and easy. Like, oh, that was so good. He was just like, oh, how did you? He's like, oh, there's like that little thing. It was like a little easy, da da da, and you just see him just like no, and it was great. And it was also great that they had Ed Norton play because he is such a good actor that he could play such a prick, and you're like, yeah, fuck this guy. Yeah.
Well, I love the characters that they always that they if this continues as a franchise, I love the people that they choose to be the villains. Like they got Chris Evans to be an asshole, and he was obviously loving being an asshole. Like,
Hmm.
and now they have Ed Norton, who's already, as we knew, a fantastic actor. I'll be a little bit honest, even though I know that this is going back to Knives Out, but even though I knew that Chris Evans was a good actor, I forgot he could be a dick if he wanted to be.
Because we
That
were
makes sense.
because we were watching like what, like 8 years of Captain America, so it's like
Yeah.
you forget that Chris Evans can act outside of like Avengers Assemble, even though that was a great, Endgame was great, but yeah, get to see him be like fuck you. And also my favorite was people saying like, oh, Chris Evans is a great actor because he was surrounded by dogs and he didn't want to pet any of them.
Yeah. Those are such good dogs.
So the next category, I called it IRL. So it's like documentaries or stuff based on real life things. So I have Jackass Forever, the Weird
Okay.
Al, the Weird Al biopic. I forgot what it was called. I think it was just called Weird Al or something. Fire Within, This Place Rules, and She Said. So Jackass Forever, it's the fourth Jackass movie. It's Jackass. Of course I enjoyed watching it, especially now because a lot of them are like they're so much older, and they're just like I really can't be putting my body through this. But then they're like one more movie? All right, one more movie. They're just like fuck it. Like a lot of them like either do small acting jobs or they're part of like stunt teams or something. Obviously things are safe. But then when they're like, "No, one more time, boys," and they're like, "All right," and it's great. It's horrible at the same time to see what happens to them, and you're like, "Oh," but it's like they know it's all like for the sake of the bit, you know.
Like I could just see I haven't seen the movie, but I could just imagine at their age that they're since they're our age, one of their big risks being walking down the hill too briskly and it's a very steep hill. Like that would be my jackass moment and just like, oh no, and then they fall, and then that's just how I imagine, and then that's how the movie end would end, and I'd go like, yep, that was dumb.
But yeah, the next one is the Weird Al biopic. And what I love about the Weird Al biopic is that it is just like things that it's just like what Weird Al does, which is it's a parody. So it's not actually a biopic on Weird Al. It's a parody, it's satire on biopics. So it does things where it's like he like discovered that he likes music or likes to do music and stuff like that. And then like literally there's like a line where the family they're at dinner and the mom goes, "Honey, we have to keep you from doing the thing you love and are good at," And it's done well because other movies like they'll try to be kind of meta like that and it's like shut the fuck up because it there's a line you have to toe to do really good kind of meta stuff without being like, "I get it, shut up," kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um there's it's like because the dad the entire time is like the stereotypical like you'll never blah 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 succeed in a thing, you have to work at the factory with me, to the point where like where little Weird Al goes, "What do you even make at the factory?" And then the father goes, "Things!" Like we just make things. Like there's no answer for it, and it's so funny because it's like what was it like Madonna is the villain in the movie, like what was it like the movie, I mean it's a spoiler but also like come on, like this is not true. The spoiler is the movie ends in like the mid to late 80s where Madonna kills Weird Al. Like, and Madonna's played by yeah, and Madonna's played by Evan Rachel Wood, and it's so good. But yeah, like Madonna's the villain, and she's just like, what was it? Like the whole thing of okay, so backtrack a little. So in the movie, it said that Weird Al wrote "Eat It," and then Michael Jackson parried his version and did "Beat It," and he's like, "Oh, now everyone's gonna think I parried his song for." like, what the fuck? Like, what do you call that? Daniel Radcliffe does a great job as Weird Al because he's not actually Weird Al. He's a caricature of Weird Al. Like, one, he's a good actor. We all know that. But two, it's just like, dude, whatever, man. Once you left Harry Potter and you started doing all those weird movies, I'm with you. I've been with him, Like, do it, you little, like, 5'6" guy or how, whatever. He's a short king. Yeah.
I enjoy that both like Daniel Radcliffe and I enjoy that both the leads of Harry Potter and Twilight,
Oh, Robert
both of
Pattinson,
which
yeah.
were just yes, both of which were the banes of my existence as a kid. I mean, I'm fine with Harry Potter except for all the transphobia now, but it was just like,
Right.
won't these fucking franchises stop constantly being
Yeah.
at me And then you realize, oh yeah, they're like Chris Evans. They're actors. Oh, they're good at it.
Hmm.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like for a while I couldn't even tell them apart very well, but
Yeah.
now I can. And they're doing really well, and I appreciate that they've kind of left behind their weird for early successes.
Yeah. The next one is Fire Within, which is one of two documentaries about volcanologists, like a married couple of volcanologists, which every time I say that, I feel like it's a study of Star Trek. Like,
What is a volcanologist?
they study, like, volcanoes and stuff like that.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
Because you're thinking
Yeah.
you're studying Spock. See? I... Nerd brain! But yes, volcanologist. It's about this couple, and they love volcanoes to the point that they died by volcano. Um, like dead ass. This couple, they are married, they love volcanoes, and they died by volcano kind of stuff. The thing that I liked about Fire Within way more than Fire Love, which Fire Within, it's done by Werner Herzog, so he's the guy, he's like the actor guy. He's also done a bunch of documentaries, and his is just kind of like um what's the word for it? I forgot how I described it in my review, but I felt like it was more personable. It just kind of took you into, hey, they died by volcano. They love volcanoes. They're married. Their love of volcanoes brought them together. Here's all the other events that they've came really close to dying. Like his doc was very much like, they kind of started off with, this is the last footage you saw of them kind of thing, and then it went kind of slightly back to like, this is the first time they like went to like an active volcano together, and then just pretty much not skip but kind of like jump to all the different times that they were very close to death, and they're like, oh, look at this, and there was a mudslide, like all that kind of stuff. And a lot of the documentary is just, it kind of speaks for itself, where they just play the footage that the couple records, and then there's this like crazy score, and you're watching it, and it's beautiful. And every so often Werner Herzog comes in and kind of like when he comes in, it's just more of like context and stuff like that. When you got to the point where it was like, okay, this is that volcano that killed them, this is the last time we see them, and this is the but they, it's like kind of like, this is the last time we see them. They don't know this is the last time they'll see like anybody, like obviously not said like that, but kind of like, this is it. And then you just watch a volcano erupt, and you know that this couple's dying, and then whoever else was near them, it was like, holy fuck, you know. It's kind of hard to find Fire Within, but where you could find it, it's like $2.99. You know what I mean? And just like watch it. So the next one's called This Place Rules, and it's the Channel 5 doc on January 6th. It was on HBO Max. Um like I mean, it sucks that, like, there was allegations that came out about Andrew, and I'm not really gonna go into that, but it sucks that, like, this movie did really well, and then, because of that. But again, that pushing that aside, which sounds terrible, but we're talking about movies right now. Um, I liked it because it's the one thing, when you're watching like a Channel 5 video, is that, man, I wish it was a little longer. Especially when he goes to like the different protests and people are like screaming their heads off and all that stuff. Like this, his interviewing style is really good because he's never like trying to persuade them one way or another. He pretty much just puts the microphone in the front of their face and just says, "Hey, what's on your mind?" You know what I mean? And so some of them will just go, like, "I hate the fucking gays," and start screaming stuff. And then you got the other side who was like, "You're a fascist." That you just see both sides just being insane. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
this was the one where it's like the events leading up to January 6th. So I mean, it's not stuff that I was surprised about because my nose is way too far into politics, but it's good to see it kind of like if you're one of those people who were like shocked the January 6th happened, you can watch it and go like, oh wow, where I was like, yeah, I remember,
Mhm.
Oh, so then the final one in this category is She Said, which is the movie okay. The movie, hold on, movie based on the book that was written by the New York Times journalist who pretty much like broke the story about Harvey Weinstein and all that stuff. So, yeah, this was it's so terrible to say this was really good because of the subject matter, but it was like, yeah, yeah. It's so terrible to be like, this movie was really good because you're like, it's poor women, you know.
I'm glad. I haven't watched that one just because I knew it would be hard to watch.
They had like a lot of like well-known people in the movie. What's that lady? Did you ever see the movie Minority Report? The one with Tom Cruise and Colin Farrell, and it's like
Maybe.
it's the one where like,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, the lady who plays one of the precognition people who like could see the future.
Oh, the Opium Baby.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
She's really good, and like her scene where she kind of explains like what happened, like her experience or like her colleagues' experience, like that kind of stuff. Because she's such a good actress, like as she's talking, I'm sitting there like it felt like, again, she's an actress. This movie is based on real stuff, but when she was explaining it, it sounded like a 60 Minutes interview. Like the way it like sounded like, oh my god, this actually happened to her. You know what I mean? Like it was that
Mm-hmm.
believable. Like, what words am I trying to use? It was that believable where it's like for a second I was like, oh shit. You know? I was like, oh fuck. Yeah. Okay, so the next subject, I call it sad. um,
Okay.
these are the good movies, but it's called sad. I have After Yang, on the count of three, and Decision to Leave. Did you even hear of those?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I did not. I'm happy to hear about them now.
Yeah. So After Yang, is a movie that's kind of like probably what third. I think they're trying to say it's only like 50 years into the future. It's a futuristic movie without being too like future. Um, so it's about Yang, which is kind of like an android, um, that like families can have in their homes, and it's an Asian. I think specifically it's a Chinese android because the adoptive daughter is Chinese, so they wanted to have because the dad is Colin Farrell, so we got an Irish dude, a white guy, and the mom is black. So of course they're like, well, we adopted a Chinese child, so let's have this android who well, like she can learn about her culture and all that stuff, and it's great. Like the movie starts off very adorable, but it's called After Yang because then the android starts kind of like malfunctioning, and the rest of the movie is just how the child copes without this android that you definitely can tell that she's very dependent on, because again, like that's how she learns and all that stuff about her culture and da da da. And then also like how the parents handle. So the movie, even though yes, it's an android kind of stuff, the movie talks a lot about like grief in like a way of like how it is through a child's eye and how it is through a parent's eye, and it's like done really well and it's shot beautifully, you know. And at no point did it do any of those like the future sucks and these robots. It's not it's not very dystopian. It's just kind of like, huh, kind of future. Because even watching it, like, yes, it's futuristic, obviously, because you have an android, but it doesn't feel too like removed. You know what I mean? That's why I call it sad because it's about grief, and you're just kind of watching it like, oh, I really didn't expect like to like it as much. And then it's On the Count of Three, which is it's written directed by Carmichael, who hosted the Golden Globes recently, and then fuck, what's his name? I forgot the guy's name, but he was in. I was about to name a bunch of movies. I was like, I don't think you know these movies. Anyway, but it also stars some other dude. um, and it's about how like the Gerard Carmichael's friend, um, like it's like wants to die, and he wants to kill himself, and it's pretty much like what or no, or Gerard Carmichael's character wants to die. Either way, someone wants to die. Yes, because I think it's Gerard Carmichael's character. One of them. Anyway, it doesn't matter because technically they both want to die. You know, and the entire time they both want to die, and they're trying to agree to like shoot each other because like that what are friends for, and it's just like it is a comedy, but it also gets kind of real because they're like, oh, okay, we'll just kill each other. It'll be a murder suicide kind of thing, one and done. Got you, friend. We're out of this. We're both done. But then it's like, you know, it wouldn't be so easy, you know. So then like the movie just kind of like shows them trying to like figure maybe other ways to die, or maybe what if we, well, excuse me, last day on earth, what if we rob a place, you know. And it's kind of like there are times where it's kind of funny, but it's like funny and like a dark humor, like how we joke kind of funny. And then it's also like the movie is very much based on the fact that the two of them are suicidal, you know. And again, mind you, like I said, the writer director guy star of it is a comedian, you know. But again, we all know comedians, they'll hit the dark shit real quick. um but yeah, so then the last one in the category is Decision to Leave, and this is a K-drama. And I said in my review that I wasn't expecting it to go the way it did. I'm not going to spoil it, but so it starts off kind of like, oh, okay, it's like a K drama. Then you're like, oh, it's a K drama slash kind of crime drama. Like, okay, sure. It's like, okay, this woman's husband dies. She's the suspect, of course. Da da da. And then like the main detective guy kind of slowly starts falling for her, and like that's where you go like, oh, of course, K drama, yeah. Oh my god, I can't be with you. I want it. So initially it has like kind of feel, but you're like, fine, it's shot well, it's acted well. Let me keep watching. And then you're just like, okay. And then like slowly but surely, puzzle pieces start fitting in, and you're like, ha. And you get to that third act, and you're like, all right, all right. And then you get to like the last 5 minutes, and you go, holy shit. And that's literally, I like got to that last 5 minutes, and I was like, wait a second, wait, what, no, no! Yeah, it's Korean cinema.
I remember watching Old Boy is originally Korean, isn't it?
Yes, sorry, because I had
Yeah.
watched the remake recently, and fuck that shit going.
Yeah. No, I remember watching that movie, even though you could kind of see the big twist at the end coming. It was still really well put together. I like watching films from other cultures, and I like that Korean films, well, I mean, we got Parasite and everything like that, are
Fuck
really
yeah.
coming up so much just because
Yeah.
it is a storytelling style that I, as an American, am not used to. So it still has a huge amount of like
Uh,
reveals for me and surprise. And
right.
I like the subject matter. And I really appreciate that Hollywood is not the only main contender anymore.
Oh,
Like
totally.
we're
Totally.
finally getting to the point where we realize and respect that filmmakers can actually come from different countries.
Yes, yes, I exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, we all know I love horror, and when I find out like whatever country, and especially if it's an Asian country, has put out a horror movie, I was like, ah, here we go. Time to either shit my pants or be just completely disgusted. Let's do this, you know. So the next category is mind blown. And there's three movies. They're kind of Captain Obvious. It's Everything Everywhere All at Once, Nope, and then that Indian movie RRR. So yeah, did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I did recently.
Yes,
I loved it.
yes,
Yeah.
right, right. I cried really hard watching it.
I was tearing up at quite a few spots.
Mhm.
But I also just love the humor in it too. Like the
Yes,
everything bagel. That
yes,
was a symbol for depression, but it was a bagel, so you know, it was yeah.
right. Yeah, the New York in me is like fucking bagels. Yes, I fucking love them. You know. Yeah, it wasn't like my sister texted me and she said it was like a few months ago. She said she watched a movie. She was like, "Oh, did you see it?" I was like, "Yes." I was like, "I cried majority of the time." I was like, I took mom to go see it, and I had to hide it from her that I had cried because we both had our mask on, and like the top inch of my mask was just like like wet, And like normally, I sit up straight or I like just kind of slouch a bit. But I was like, she was sitting to my left, and I was so far leaning to the right, so she wouldn't see that. I was like, and then when the movie ended, I was like, please don't let the credits be like too bright, or I hope they don't bring the house lights fully up, like just a little bit up, just so I have a little bit of time to like just wipe my eyes a little and just be like, hey mom, what'd you think of the movie? And like it's so funny because she liked the movie too, but she didn't fully get it because she was just kind of like, oh yeah, the movie was really silly, because like there's like the dildos and all that kind of like the butt plugs, and so it's like, oh, it's silly, or it's like, oh, I'm just suddenly gonna chew on a chapstick, and of course what's his name, who plays the husband, is doing all like a lot of his stunts and all that shit. So it's like, and Michelle Yeoh is fucking Michelle Yeoh. So like, yeah, it was great. So she didn't see the whole like, oh yeah, it's a immigrant mother with a queer child and there's misunderstanding, and I'm like, ah.
I love how strange it is.
Yeah.
The fact that just like, here are the googly eyes. Here is like them turning into different people or versions of themselves. You try and describe the film to anyone, they're like, that sounds like a crazy shit pile of shit, and you're just like, no, it's really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Trust me, you can follow it. It's
Yeah.
well done. It's cheerful while also being very sad and solemn.
Yeah, yeah. Because again, yeah, there's all the silliness of like the battles and all that stuff, and what would cause the skips or whatever you want to call it. But then like the main plot is just like, oh man, like fuck me.
Well, it's also fun to see Michelle Yeoh as just like a mom,
Yeah.
not just crazy rich Asian mom, but like,
Yeah, not like corporate mom. Yeah.
yeah, someone who doesn't really quite know what they're doing and is a mom and has like an apartment just over their business and can't figure out their taxes. Like, I've never seen average run of the mill Michelle Yeoh. Like, you could pass on the street Michelle Yeoh. Granted, she's still fucking gorgeous.
I know.
But it's the only part that was a little bit like, okay, this is what would break my disbelief. Just like, you're the laundromat woman?
Right?
What do you wash everything with? Like gold? Who are you? That's the only part where I was just like, I don't think I would believe that Michelle Yeoh does my laundry. But beyond that, it was really great. And I love Jamie Lee Curtis in it too, because she got really weird. I like that.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest I've seen her.
Yes. Yes. Next on the list is Nope. We kind of already talked about it in the beginning. But yeah, I was watching it and I was like, come on, Jordan Peele, give me something. And funny enough, like they technically didn't give you anything, but at the same time, they gave you a lot.
Elaborate.
So, I love the promo of this because it's everyone just looking up in the sky, and you're not given any clue. Because like some trailers, they practically give you away the entire fucking movie. This one, they're all just looking up in the sky and literally just go, nope. And I mean, that's the perfect title for this, because that would be your response. If you saw some weird shit in the sky, you're just like, oh,
Yes.
And then again, every like main character in the movie, like none of okay, the sister was never the dumb damsel in distress, but then again, it's Jordan Peele and he wouldn't like allow that. You know what I mean? Like every one of his movies that has like a woman in it, they're like, none of them are like dumb. They're never just a woman in there to be a woman in there kind of thing. But yeah,
they have a personality.
Yeah.
Like, imagine.
Oh my god, what's that? But yeah, this movie also gave you a lot because once you started watching the movie, you're just like, all right, cool. All right, they got this ranch. All right, you got siblings. All right, cool. All right, huh? It's like, what? What's happening? Huh? Wait, what? And it kind of just like unfolds, not like insanely quick, but kind of feels like you're just like, they go from like, yeah, we do this horses stuff and we're just trying to keep our head afloat, to suddenly like, oh my god, and screaming and blood raining down from the sky. Like it was just like, holy shit. Like that scene in the barn where the little shit kids were dressed as the aliens. I just bought that as actual aliens. And just the way how it was shot, I straight up just went, hell no. Hell no. And then when one of them was right next to him, he punched it, which, best response. Because I hate in movies where they'll see the thing and they go, or they just run away. Like, no, you fucking hit that. And then it's like, then it was revealed as kids, and you're like, all right, da da da.
Some half a child, you're just like, whoop, oh well.
Yeah, you know. But I love that. I love constantly cutting back to the TV show of when the disaster happened. Shit, like I love that whole like how they both kind of like correlated with one another because it's two different times. Not time. Sorry. I can't speak. Two different types of impending doom. You know, because it's like at any point that monkey's gonna be a fucking monkey. You know, and gonna lose its shit. You know, and at any point that weird thing in the sky is gonna manifest into something. There's no way it's just gonna be, like when Angel was like, that cloud hasn't moved, And I was just like, I mean, I fucking loved it. And I love the whole idea of the movie being like, everyone loves a spectacle, you know? And they weren't shy about it because they were like, everyone loves a spectacle. What is it? What is it? What is it? And then even, what's his name? Steven Yeun's like character where like he was part of the spectacle of the monkey thing. And then he then had the farm talking more about like he grew up with that trauma, but instead of like backing away from it, he like, like pushed in like yeah, even more and was like kind of like make money off of my trauma kind of thing. And then he died by, like it's just like holy fuck. Because the entire time the audience is like, it can't just be a fucking alien. It's something else. No, it's an alien. There's no, the other shoe doesn't drop. Like, it's just, I love Jordan Peele. I love how smart he is. I love that his...
I did not get the shoe part. Like, that's very clever. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I love that his movies, are thought out. Like, how dare he,
Well, I also thought the color in this one, even though I really liked Get Out quite a bit. I thought the color in Nope, because you could play with pastels, you could play with every classic like Western movie color trope. You could have something so bright and cheerful, which is why I think The Raining Blood was such a shock.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love the color in this. I love what he did with it. I'm very glad that, as much as I like his prior films, he now is comfortable enough to just be like, let's get weird.
Right.
Let's get weirder.
Right.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, and the fact that he has his own production company, and the fact that he did Get Out, and he won an Oscar for Get Out, and all that stuff, that, like, and this is, like, his third movie, that, people are kind of like, yeah, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And I want him to do whatever the fuck he wants. Him and Guillermo del Toro, just do whatever the fuck you want. I am there for it, I am always there for it. I would like to work on one of these, I would not be upset about that. But also do whatever the fuck you want, yeah. But yes, the last one on this category, RRR, that 3-hour Indian movie, I fucking love that movie. No matter how much Indian YouTube hates me for somehow reacting to the movie the way they didn't like me reacting to it, last time I checked, there is 7,000 views on that video, so, I wish I monetized, my channel, but, goddamn. And Jesus Christ, like, they sent me so much hate to the point where, like, there's, the comment section that you see, and then there's a withheld, because they feel like maybe some words triggered a thing, and I saw that, but there's a third layer of, like, these were super withheld because of X. And then I clicked on it to look, and it even gave me a thing of, are you sure you want to see these comments? Because this might be really bad. And I've never seen that before. And I clicked on it. And, like, it was only 2 comments. One was practically like a manifesto. It was like a not okay, that sounds a little harsh, but it was pretty much like a Wikipedia. It was an essay. It was long. It was like I started to read it because like it'll be like 3 lines, and you click read more, thinking it'll be like, and then literally I clicked read more, and it was like, boom. I was like, what? I like started to read because I was like, hey, you hate me. I want to see what you wrote. Like, how about click? What the fuck? Scroll, like, had to do a couple wheel scrolls, and I was like, oh my god! Alright, block report, And then the other comment was just pretty much like, you're Chinese and you have a dirty mouth or something. Like,
Oh no! Oh no!
yeah, anyway, the negative comments aside, which were all really hilarious because they all were just so mad at me for laughing. I'm like, dude, have you not watched this movie? It's ridiculous. It's like good and it's insane, but come on, man. The dudes like swinging they all just like looked at one another and like didn't speak. They just both looked at one another and knew to like grab the sheet and fling each other underneath the bridge to help the kid and put out the fire. It was epic, but it was ridiculous. You know?
Yeah, your experience with all of that. I mean, I had the same instance of watching all of this and going like, I love this. This is this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is really crazy, but it is a really good story, and the music is great, and the actors
Oh my
are
god.
great.
Yeah.
But I think that is another instance of a different culture, a different culture's idea of storytelling.
Right.
And also, I think like maybe they think that we're being racist and shitting on the movie, or maybe it's because this is like the most expensive movie to come out of their country
Yes.
that I know of. Okay, it's true. Okay.
And it's also nominated. Well, I mean, it was nominated for stuff on the Golden Globes, and it's currently nominated for stuff in the Oscars. So it's like it's hit it big, and it was also like, and Netflix, put it out. So yeah, it's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally should be like nominated for all of these different categories, especially for that original song thing.
I love it. Oh my god.
The song was great. The number for that was great.
They hit that shit hard. They were in tailored suits, hitting the fucking dance moves hard, not ripping a seam, And I was like, dude, when I was watching that scene on stream, I was like, yo! I'm like watching them dance, and I'm like, I am tired watching you. Because they weren't just dancing. They were like it's like when we watch like the Fenty show, and all the dancers are hitting it hard, and I'm like, God, I wish I could move like that and not be exhausted 2 minutes in,
Have, like, you move once like that and suddenly everything in your shoulder dislocates.
And then you just like just yeah.
I guess it's also like a fear that somehow we aren't taking it seriously. I mean, we are. It's a great, beautiful film. It's a lot of fun. They are also throwing tigers at people.
Like they were very Captain Obvious about like white man taking over India. Fuck the white man. And I'm like, yes. Like I'm with you on that. And like the stuff that I like cut into the highlights reaction on YouTube, like in no way was any of that cut out, like, because I laughed. Like, literally went and I said, yeah, this movie said fuck the white man, and I'm laughing. So you get where I'm standing, like, and the movie wasn't shy about showing that kind of racism, because sometimes like certain movies, especially if you're like a foreign country that's not the big Western countries, you kind of can't be like, fuck the Westerners, and then you're like, yeah, hello Westerners, would you like to watch my film? Yeah, and it was great, it was insane, and it was like, there's like the fire, the water, and the one guy is the village guy, and the other guy, he's a cop. And then you learn that like cop guy is also a poor guy, but you infiltrated the police state to help, and you're like, what? He's actually a good, like, dude, when I found out he was actually a good guy, I was like, what? You're not an asshole cop. I mean, he had to do things. He had to do things to get by. And it was just so good. And yeah, it was like blown. So the final category before I go to the 2 honorary ones is 3,000 Years of Longing, Tar, Banshees of Inisherin, fucking Irish names, and Fablemans. Did you hear of any of them?
Heard of Fableman. I have not heard of any of them. I have not seen any of them.
So 3,000 Years of Longing is a movie where like Idris Elba is a genie, and Tilda Swinton finds him. Like she like goes. I think she's like an art curator, something where she has to like travel a lot. She like goes to a village. Does like the white person thing where like I'm in a brown country. I will buy a vase kind of thing, and she buys like a little thing, and then she's like, huh. She's like cleaning it off, in her like hotel room, and then boom, a very large Idris Elba shows up. And then like grants her wishes and all that shit, and pretty much that's the movie. Is that a very attractive Idris Elba, which there's no other way to describe him, um, grants wishes and like talks about his life, and they kind of like, you know, at one point they do end up fucking, but they don't show it. It just kind of like insinuated that like she did it with the genie. But normally I would think that's weird, but it's Idris Elba, so like I get it, It's like he's a good looking man. I am mad about it. The next one is Tar. It's Kate Blanchett's in this, and she is a conductor for classical music. Obviously, was she a conductor for a train, Joe? Jesus Christ, sorry.
No, no, I think I have heard of this, but go on.
She's a conductor for symphonies and all that stuff. And she plays an American in this movie, which I like when Kate Blanchett plays an American, because when she does her American accent, her voice gets lower, and she sounds kind of like, yes. And I'm like, oh, Kate Blanchett, okay, why are you sounding so sexy right now, But she's like, she's a lady who's like a professor as well, and she's kind of like, fuck it, I'm at this certain age, I know what I'm doing, da da da, she's fine. But then it's also like she kind of has her own semi kind of Me Too moment. So, like someone in the class that she was teaching recorded like a couple snippets and then like edited together, so it all seemed like really wrong, because she was talking to like a male student, and like he kept like just shaking, like when you just kind of like bounce your leg when you're talking and all that stuff, and he kept doing it, and she just like grabbed his leg and is kind of like, but like they edited a bunch of stuff together so it looked like she was flirting with him and rubbing his like, and so it's like, well, what are you gonna do? And she's like, like, yes, on one hand you're like, well, I didn't do that, someone just edited that, so I'm just gonna move on. But like in the day and age of the internet, you always have to make a statement. As Captain Obvious, like, yeah, that's bullshit. Like, and you just kind of see her life kind of like what's the word? Kind of fucking up.
Right.
Yeah, like you see her be like, oh, she's like, the head thing of this to like, not like really crash and burn, but just kind of how like, then like her jobs are like, well, we can't have you back because of the controversy, and she kept being like, again, this really isn't giving away, it's just what the plot is. Like, she's like, well, like that, I didn't do any of that. You gotta trust me. But again, in this day and age, you can't just go by that. You know what I mean? Um, so it was very interesting. Plus, like, as someone who used to do classical music, the music part of it, I was just like, just seeing like the orchestra stuff and like, but also like her character does act kind of sus, so it doesn't fully like absolve her. They're doing like a lot of like the blind auditions and all that stuff for like this new orchestra, and then she ends up choosing like this one young girl, and like she gets kind of flirty with her, kind of like puts her hand on her, rubs kind of stuff. It is known that I think her character, I think, is supposed to be lesbian and shit like that, but like it's not okay, because I think I forgot if she has a wife or that's like her assistant. I don't know. At some point, I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm watching this movie," and it's Kate Blanchett just kind of like playing like an older woman with zero fucks, and her life is kind of like crashing before her, and she's still trying to like, she's trying to like better it by not doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Then it was the Banshees of Inisherin. That's the movie that has Colin Farrell and what's his name? He was in Harry Potter with the weird wonky eye. Um,
Okay, yes, I
yeah,
know
yeah,
what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about.
The one where it's like with the eye. Yeah, it's the two of them in yet another movie with this director guy who's done two other movies with them, and it's it's a fun kind of cute movie, but kind of sad, but not enough to put in the sad category. Um, so what it is that like Colin Farrell and other Irish guy, they're buddies, and then just one day, Colin Farrell goes up to other Irish guy, and the other Irish guy is just kind of like, yeah, I don't think I don't want to be friends with you anymore. Just kind of like bam, with no explanation, no nothing. And they're living in Ireland, but they're living in like an offshoot island. So it's like to leave the island, you got to do it by boat kind of stuff. So it's not just like, all right, I'll just fuck off. Like you're gonna see him because there's one pub, there's one one of like one of everything. Um, and so the whole movie is just Colin Farrell just trying to like win his friendship back from this guy, and it's kind of funny because Colin Farrell is hilarious. Um, and it's funny, but again, in like kind of like a dark way. And then you just kind of see how like the other Irish guy is kind of like, well, if you keep doing that, I'm gonna do this extreme thing. And he's thinking, oh well, he's not gonna do it. But then things are, like it's like like one's trying to do well and the other one's trying to be like, no, dude, don't do this. And it's like this kind of back and forth thing between the two of them. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed it because it's like it showed just how like silly it is, especially as grown adults. Because it's like really what could have solved all of this is if they both just like sat down and like had like a heart to heart. But instead, it's like, no, I just can't stand you anymore. Whereas it's like one person's like, no, why? Tell me, I need to understand more, and the other person's like, no, I'm done with you. And then the entire movie is just like just him just trying to be like friend, and the other guy's like no, that's why it's silly, but also it is kind of like aw kind of stuff. And then
Yeah.
and whenever Colin Farrell's sad, his character is always either by himself or just with a farm animal. you know it's like it's either him like sitting there by himself or he's like there's a cow, just chilling inside the house. um but yeah, so then the last one on the list is Fablemans, which is the not so biopic of Spielberg. It's the Spielberg movie. So it's about like
Yeah. Okay.
a young kid, like, they kind of moved a bit, like they moved around a bit. Um and the kid like discovers his love of filmmaking, and a lot of the stuff of how the kid like made movies is actually how Spielberg actually made movies. So a lot of like doing, well, no surprise, doing a lot of war movies and doing all that other shit. Simple little ways of making it look like, guns were like bullets were fired near you if you're on the sand. All stuff that, because, it's Spielberg. I know that's how he did that when he was a child. So it like, I initially gave this movie just 3.5 stars. It was like, yeah, it was fine, blah, blah. But this is not a spoiler. But like, really, like, right at the end of the movie, David Lynch makes a cameo. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give you that extra half star. Because you have David Lynch play a shitty Hollywood guy. And that's not him. He's David Lynch. Most people don't get him, and they hate him. But again, it's a Spielberg movie, so it's like it's shot well, the story's good, it's Spielberg. Like, it's all like, oh man, Spielberg fell off. I'm like, it's Spielberg, you know. All right, so we forgot a movie for best of. My bad. Because there's so many bad movies, I missed it in my list. So it was in the other category, which is The Northman. Did you hear about that movie, The Northman? It's the same guy who did The Lighthouse and The Witch. His next movie is probably The Something. It seems like with how he titles things.
The noun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Exactly. Did you hear of The Northman or anything about it?
It sounds familiar. Please remind me what it's
Um,
about.
so yeah, obviously Northman is about like Norse mythology kind of shit. It's got Alexander Skarsgård, who is Swedish, so he is technically Viking, playing a Viking, and then like Bjork's in it. Like real quick, I screamed when I saw the trailer because I was like, Bjork hasn't been in a movie since like I think the late '90s or some shit, and she was like, oh, I'm no longer doing movies because like she was in a movie and the director was a piece of shit, and then she's in a movie again, and I was like, oh my god. Also, it's Bjork. It's got Willem Dafoe in it, being his best Willem Dafoe, you know. being
A
the
lot, yes.
yeah, so he was Willem Dafoe-ing the role and stuff. Anya Taylor Joy's in it, and so it's about like Norse kind of stuff and like I don't know how else to describe it. It is very weird, but like there's so many movies nowadays. If a movie isn't a little weird, a little odd, I'm just kind of like I don't care because then it just like it blends in with all the 20,000 other movies I watch. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, so the last thing is it's just like honorary mentions. Two movies, they're both horror. The Hellraiser reboot and The Hatching. Hatching. Did you see or even hear anything about the Hellraiser movie?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Um, one, it's good.
Cool.
Yeah, because mostly like Hellraiser 1 and 2, maybe 3 were good. Obviously, the first one was really good. After that, because there was like I think 7, 8 movies in the entire thing, it was just horrible. It was like, bleh. And at one point there was like 2 or 3 movies where they couldn't even get the original guy to be Pinhead anymore, so they just got like great value Pinhead. It was just like really bad. Um, it was like so they got great value, and then the next movie it was a different guy from the last one. Thank God, because that guy was just eh, he was a little bit better, but still not good. What made this Hellraiser good was like so how like in like OG Hellraiser, they're all fucked up looking, but then they're in like the kind of vinyl, BDSM looking kind of outfits. In this Hellraiser, like their clothing or whatever, they're all skin. So there's no like, oh, I'm kind of fucked up here and it's revealed in these weird pockets and windows of my outfits. Like, no, I am all flesh and sinew and all that stuff. And it's like so like creepy, but yet kind of beautiful, like and then Pinhead being like a lady played by a trans woman, which I love it because you know how like with Pinhead they kind of modulate his voice. So like with her, because she kind of has like a husky feminine voice. Hello, I would know what that is. Um, and then they modulate it a little, and it sounds even like creepier. You know what I mean? And like she just looks
Mhm.
so fucking awesome. Even the OG Pinhead guy, he's like, yeah, I love this movie, and what's her name is a great Pinhead, and I'm like, yes, yeah. Like the human characters, I hated all of them. They all
Mhm.
sucked. None of them were redeemable. The only character I liked was like the brother of the main character, and he like dies like 15 minutes in.
Oh.
So then I'm like, great, now I'm stuck with you assholes. Well, which is also on like with these kind of movies, it's more like you don't care about the people. You know what I mean? You care about the 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 evil hell beasts coming to like kill everyone. You know what I mean? So like on one hand, it's like on the other hand, it's like no. I want to see what you do. Rip them apart. Let's see that. Let's see. Come on. Let's see you rip them apart. Um, but yeah, the other honorary mentions called The Hatching, which is a very strange movie. Um, it's about like this girl finds this like very large egg, and then like she just kind of like keeps it warm in her room, and like she's kind of like tween kind of age, and then like the egg starts hatching. It's like all right, so then it's kind of like a big fuck off bird, It's like in her room, and she's like, "Yay, it's my bird!" But then, because it's a horror movie, it like slowly starts to like look like her. So it goes from like bird to suddenly like starting to look like as the movie progresses, it starts slowly but surely look more human, and then it starts growing like long blonde hair like the girl has, and then it looks exactly like her. Only difference is that like you know not as cognizant, obviously, not as there sentient as she is, and it also got like white out eyes, like kind of looking, and it's just and then it's like it got to the point where like the movie is like she just has to fight herself, you know.
Mhm.
It's very weird, but it's like I like weird and I like horror, so I was like, like, who else is like, hey, I'm gonna write a movie about a young girl who finds an egg and she keeps it and it keeps growing and growing and growing and then it hatches and it's a big fuck off bird. and then the bird slowly starts turning into her, and then she has to fight herself at the end. Like, what? You know? What have you been
Mm-hmm.
smoking? Yeah. Oh my god.